this was his strategy all along, and that you might even say that he goaded China into a bad position. They responded. They have shown themselves to the world to be the bad actors. And
ladies and gentlemen, we got to talk about this because the United States of America just trapped China, and Donald Trump is a genius. And I got to admit it. And I turned into a little bit of a panic. And I want to admit that as well. I definitely did turn into one of those people that was like, oh, man, there's so much red. I don't know. Right. And I just want to admit this. I was 100% wrong. And I told you, if I'm wrong, then I'm wrong. But let's talk about this real quick. China's economy just took a huge hit. Here's why. China just got trapped into becoming the only economy and the only country in the world to retaliate against the United States of America. Donald Trump's Liberation Day was meant to put a tariff on every country, and the Trump administration told every country not to retaliate, but to come to the table. The only country that did not come to the table was China. The stock market today is booming because of a 90-day pause that Trump put on the rest of the world as they come to the table and as we get better trade, better fair trade and free trade. But the only country that has not come to the table is China. But our economy and our stocks are booming right now because everything now is beginning to balance itself out and beginning to just become green. Now, if you don't believe me, I'll show you. But before that, ladies and gentlemen, Trump literally set the trap and China walked right into it. And now the economy is suffering for it. And Trump is making even more announcements about hitting China where it hurts the most because they're the only country that is showing themselves to be the bad actors here. And if you don't believe me, take a listen of what he said and what he told the world. And also take a look at the economy right now. Liberals took this to be the biggest thing for them. They wanted to run with this, but they didn't know that it wouldn't even last more than a week with stocks going down, crypto going down. But now everything is pretty much back up. Things are still really high for where they were 5 years ago. So where's the crash? Liberals, let's take a listen.
Moving markets right now is a brand new Truth Social out from President Trump. The Dow is surging now up 1,500 points on this. President Trump has just put out a Truth Social saying, based on the lack of respect that China has shown to the world's markets, I am hereby raising the tariff charge to China by the U.S. to 125% effective immediately. At some point, hopefully in the near future, China will realize that the days of ripping off the USA and other countries is no longer sustainable or acceptable. Conversely, and based on the fact that more than 75 countries have called reps of the United States, including...
Hold on. She's reading the Truth Social post, if you guys don't know. She's reading the Truth Social post, right, that Trump posted out there. And basically... Trump is breaking down. And by the way, you look at the markets, they're looking very green. But this post right here made the market boom. Like, I'm talking about Solana, crypto, XRP. Things were really low because of the uncertainty in the market. But now things just skyrocketed. But Trump, again, put this 90-day pause, which made the market boom because he wants to negotiate. And all these countries are calling and they're going to negotiate. Even though there's still a tariff on them, he's still putting a pause on the reciprocal tariffs. And again, he's making the announcement that we just cleared out every other country, right? We're going to deal with them, but there's one country. And usually China is retaliating, right? They're retaliating after the Trump administration said no. And even with their retaliation, our markets are still doing pretty good. So China doesn't have anything really. People are investing again in the U.S. markets, U.S. stocks, U.S.-based stocks from companies made here, manufactured here. So again, China, you see so many liberals saying, don't play with China. We should be scared of China. Should we really? And Trump has called this out because it just makes me think, who in Congress and these presidents, who's working for China? Like, why aren't you willing to go to war with the country that's basically having all this power over America? We're so indebted to them. And Donald Trump said, enough is enough. We're going to stand up, but we cleared out the way. If you don't believe me here, let's actually go. Because you see the Truth Social message. You see the market's doing good. But Scott Bessent stood in front of the world, right? The Secretary of Treasury. And he basically said, we just outsmarted everybody because we pointed out who the real bad actor here is. Take a listen.
And all this was, again, this was driven by the president's strategy. He and I had a long talk on Sunday, and this was his strategy all along. And that, you might even say that he goaded China into a bad position. They've shown themselves to the world to be the bad actors. And we are willing to cooperate with our allies and with our trading partners who did not retaliate. It wasn't a hard message. Don't retaliate. Things will turn out well.
Don't retaliate. And look at the smile on Scott Besson's face. Scott Besson has been educating, by the way, these liberal bad actors themselves, which is, these anchors. He's been educating them on what the plan is and what the goals are. And don't retaliate. We're going to negotiate with our allies. Don't retaliate was the question. You even saw Benjamin Netanyahu, Prime Minister of Israel, come to the White House. Vietnam calling the White House. 50, 60 countries around the world calling the White House saying, we want to negotiate. We think that what you're doing is correct. We understand. You don't want to be taken advantage of anymore. We'll come to the table. That's why there's this pause. But China doesn't want to come to the table. And Scott Besson, again, Secretary of Treasury, says, hey, guys, we found them. We found the bad actors. So basically now the rest of the world is looking at China like, what the hell? What are you doing? So has the United States of America basically just shifted the attention to China being the bad guy here? And again, I'm going to show you more because here's Trump. Let's go here real quick, because Trump was asked a very good question by Link Lauren, I'm a big fan of Link Lauren. He's amazing. Go check him out. He asked this question. Trump exploded here about Chuck Schumer and, of course, Nancy Pelosi, right? The senator and congresswoman for many years, decades, spoken about tariffs, but they really never stood up to China in the way that they needed to. Take a listen.
Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi, they've been talking about tariffs for decades. How come when these Democrat elites want tariffs, everything's hunky-dory, but when President Trump wants tariffs, all hell breaks loose? Do you see this double standard?
I love this guy, whoever the hell that is. That's really nice. I appreciate that question. No, Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, everybody knew you had to do it, but they never had the guts to do it. It does take guts. It even takes guts for our country to go through it. That's why I say be cool. They were saying about, just be cool. It's going to work out. It's going to work out, and it's working out. I can tell you, working out maybe faster than I thought. But I said it's going to take a little conditioning. It's a transition to. I think it's a transition to greatness. It's going to be greatness. Our country is going to be. There'll be nothing like it. And people investing in our country, they're going to do better than they've ever done before. We have more car manufacturers, Roger, coming into our country now. Speaking of cars, we've never seen anything like it. And they're coming in because of the election, but they're coming in because of the tariffs, because they don't want to pay 25 or 50 or whatever it may be.
So now we have the cards. Got all these countries, got all these manufacturers, car manufacturing companies, speaking of building things in America, bringing jobs to America, that's the goal. But the conditioning part, and Trump saying be cool, he even nicknamed people to not be panicking. He gave them a category. You panicking, you're panicking. You're a panicking. You're not a Republican, you're not a Democrat, you're a panicking. And basically going against the leverage that the United States of America has. And which brings me to, right? Because Trump basically pointed out the obvious fact. Shout out to Link Lauren for asking that question, because many people like Chuck Schumer, like Nancy Pelosi, have spoken about, hey, China, what they're doing to the United States of America is actually really bad. But they never did anything about it. But now 104% tariff on China, it's not even affecting the markets anymore, because now we've pointed out exactly who it is. And even with them, putting tariffs on America, again, retaliation tariffs, it's not really affecting us anymore the way that it's going to affect them and their economy. So I want to go to somebody that I actually look up to a lot. Love to have him on the show one day. Shark Tank legend, Kevin O'Leary, because he actually says 104% tariffs on China is not enough. Take a listen.
104% tariffs on China are not enough. I'm advocating 400%. I do business in China. They don't play by the rules. They've been in the WTO for decades. They have never abided by any of the rules they agreed to when they came in for decades. They cheat, they steal IP. I can't litigate in their courts. They take product, technology, they steal it, they manufacture it and sell it back here. Never has an administration.
400% tariffs? What would that
I
look
want
like?
Xi on an airplane to Washington to level the playing field. This is not about tariffs anymore. Nobody has taken on China yet, not the Europeans, no administration for decades. As someone who actually does business there, I've had enough. I speak for millions of Americans who have IP that have been stolen by the Chinese. I have nothing against the Chinese people. They brought great literacy, art, and tech to the world. The government cheats and steals, and finally, an administration, you may not like Trump, you may not like his style or his rhetoric, finally, an administration that puts up and says enough. 400% tariffs tomorrow morning. He'll tell you why. Xi can only stay the supreme leader if people are employed. If we wipe out any business there, because we are still 39% of all consumables on Earth and 25% of the world's GDP, America is the #1 economy on Earth with all the cards. We will not have that forever. It's time to squeeze Chinese heads into the wall now.
Well,
I'm
hold
not
on a
talking about
second,
tariffs
Kevin.
on
Well,
60
I hear you, but hold on. If we're talking about people, the average consumer, not necessarily the head honchos of businesses all across the globe, can they withstand the pressure of that sort of tax on the
It's
goods?
short-lived. There will be
But what's your timeline compared to, you don't know the average American's timeline, what they can actually survive. There's people right now who can't survive
400% tomorrow morning, cheese on an airplane to Washington to cut a deal.
400%. But he's advocating for Trump to put 400% tariffs on Xi Jinping, and on China, and he'll be on a plane, here in the morning. So we could just skip all the nonsense. But again, I don't think that after watching the markets today and the reaction of it, pricing in, I think we're already priced in. And I think that we can only go up from here, in my opinion, especially when we have the cards and when other countries are willing to renegotiate trade deals, except, obviously China. So again, this has become about China. Scott Besson said we have basically nobody retaliated. China did, though, which we now know exactly who the bad actors are, which I think is very important. But again, Kevin O'Leary advocating for 400% tariffs on China. It'll bring them to the table immediately. As he said, we have the cards. 25% gross domestic product, GDP, right? 35% of the consumers. Us, 40% of the world's consumers are here. 40%. It's crazy. So again, ladies and gentlemen, make sure to smash the like button. Let me know how you guys feel about this. China's economy is about to take a huge hit. It's already taken hits. Their markets is already plunging in, especially now that the United States of America is bowing not to back down. And we want to force them to, make fair deals and fair trade and free trade, which they have not announced just yet. So we're waiting for them to cave. Because really, as Kevin O'Leary said, you can't stay supreme leader if your people don't have jobs or if your people are beginning to struggle. So, again, amazing stuff, ladies and gentlemen. I'll see you on the next one.